Hello there, Vendi here, and in today's video, I'm going to share my journey of learning English and how I became fluent, even though I did not grow up speaking English. And at the end of the video, I will be sharing some tips that hopefully you can apply in your own journey. So let's get started. Let's start from the very beginning. I first started learning English when I was in elementary school. And this was nothing out of ordinary, really, because here in Indonesia, everyone has to learn English in school, starting in elementary. But the problem at the time was that I think mostly what we did in class was just doing grammar exercises. We didn't really practice the other skills like writing or speaking. So mostly the learning just consisted of doing grammar exercises. Nevertheless, I still liked English at the time. I can't really remember why, but I think it was just because to me, I never found it difficult to learn all the grammar rules, so I liked doing it. This was the case all throughout elementary and junior high school. And then when I was in grade 11, things started to change because at this time I decided to take an English course because at this time I was planning to study international business in university, and the program was offered in English, but I knew that at the time my English wasn't good enough yet, especially when it comes to the speaking and the writing. So, yeah, I decided to take an English course. I studied at IALF for 2 years. Now, this is not sponsored, by the way. And this is where my English learning journey started to accelerate, I would say, because when I was studying here, well, not just me, but everyone else was encouraged to speak English and not to worry about making mistakes.
Just do it!
And this was a big change, I would say, because before this, I had always felt like embarrassed or scared of trying to speak English because I didn't want to make any mistakes because then people would make fun of me. Um, and also, I remember in my very first class, the teacher told us that if you want to speak English, then you have to think in English. And this was the change in my mindset, I would say, that really changed my approach in my English learning journey. So, yeah, in this 2 years of studying there, I learned quite a lot. I got more comfortable with speaking English. And I was more excited, I would say, because before this, um, I liked learning English because it was easy and I could get good scores during tests in school. But but yeah, learning here shows me that it's more than just getting scores. That like English, I could use English to actually use it in real life and communicate with other people. Um, so yeah, and so during this time, I at the time Facebook was a thing, so I started to like talk to random people from other countries just so that I could practice my English. Anyways, by the time I finished high school, I was really comfortable with speaking English. I wasn't afraid of making mistakes, although I knew at the time that, my English wasn't perfect. I then graduated high school and I did end up taking the business program that I had planned to take. So, this is, I would say, where my immersion in an English speaking environment started. Because, yeah, the program was taught in English. So, like every day, we had to use English. And then on top of that, I had new friends who were also in the same mindset when it comes to like improving, their English. So we felt comfortable using English with each other, and we didn't really make fun of each other when we made mistakes. So I think that really helped us, yeah, practice our English and became better. During this time, my circle of friends also started to become wider and wider. So I was able to connect with the international community here in my city. And yeah, that was really helpful when it comes to like, just making me practice English not only in school, but also outside of school. Yeah, 4 years later, after using English pretty much every day for 4 years, I graduated and I decided to go to Australia. And this was actually my first time going to an English speaking country. And yeah, by this time, my English was already pretty good, I would say, because yeah, we I had to take the IELTS test for the immigration, and I scored an 8 for my speaking, even though I had never been to an English speaking country before. But even though I was pretty confident because I scored pretty high on my IELTS, and speaking in English was not really a foreign concept to me anymore. It was almost, like like a habit, something that I just did every day. Uh, I was humbled because when I went there, I guess speaking wasn't so much of a problem, but yeah, understanding Australian people speaking English was quite difficult.
Don't worry, I got you sorted. What you're going to do, this old trail here, you're going to follow her about 4 clicks and you're going to veer off to the right. Now, that's where things get a little bit tricky.
I had some problems understanding some of them, but yeah, it was a good experience to me because it taught me that even though I was pretty good at that time, like there was still a lot to learn for me, and I think that's also how I think about it now. Like even though my English is pretty good right now, and people sometimes can't tell whether I'm a native speaker or not, I feel like there's still a lot to learn. So yeah, that's the story of how I became fluent in English. And now I have 4 tips, based on my experience that I think will be helpful for you in improving your English. First, learn to think in English. And I think this is one of the main reasons why I can speak fluently now, is that I don't translate in my head, from Indonesian to English and then speak. I just think in English. So it makes me easier to when I speak. And to do this, there are many things that you can do. Um, you can watch a lot of like English movies or YouTube videos. You can read a lot of English books, listen to podcasts in English. And if you find words that you don't understand, go to an English dictionary and find the definitions of the words. So don't try to find the translation of the words, to your language. Yeah, because then when you want to use those words, you're gonna think in your language and then you translate it in your head and then you speak, right? But if you just learn everything in English and then you want to reproduce that knowledge or you want to reproduce that information, you just do it in English because you learn it in that language. And then the second one is that, try to speak English regularly. Now, this doesn't mean that you have to start by, doing it every day. I obviously didn't start that way. Just start small, like do it once a week or twice a week. And, the key is just to make it a habit. To do this, well, one thing that you can do is like what I did, which is to go to an English course where, you can meet people who have the same goal, right? They want to improve their English. I think it's easier that way, because then you don't feel afraid or embarrassed if you make mistakes. Or you can also find friends. Nowadays you can easily go online and find friends from like other countries. And I think this is also a good practice because then, yeah, you have to communicate in English, right? So if you're having a hard time explaining something to them, then you have no options than to just do it in English and try to get the message across. Okay, and tip number 3 is talk to yourself in English. I think this is helpful if you don't have speaking partners, which was the case for me, until I was in like grade 11. So I just, yeah, talk to myself in English. Or sometimes when I watched a movie, I would pause the movie and then try to repeat what they said, like try to copy what they said, not just in terms of the words, but also like pronunciation and everything. So, so yeah, it's very helpful. I think it's one of the reasons, like, how I got my accent really, because I watched a lot of like American movies, and I practice by myself all the time. Last one is, don't let critics stop you from practicing. I don't know about your friends and how they react when you try to speak English and make mistakes, but like to me, it wasn't easy because I think my friends would laugh at me when I tried to speak English and then made mistakes. But yeah, I think there always be people who will laugh at you or make fun of you. You cannot. I don't think you can change that. But yeah, just keep in mind that the same people who mock you when you first start learning English will be the same people who will want to be like you once you've reached, like a high level of fluency. So I guess, if you keep that in mind, that will motivate you. So, yeah, that's my English learning journey. I hope that you find my story informative and inspiring. Now, it's your turn. Leave a comment and share your English learning journey. Also, some tips and tricks that you have used in the past that have worked for you. I'd love to hear them. And if you find this video useful, as always, give a thumbs up and share with your friends. See you in the next one.